Feliz Sábado. How's everybody doing this afternoon?
Feliz Sábado.
We're going to be speaking about the influence of satanic influence in sports and the idolatry of sports. If you will kneel with me, we'll say a word of prayer and begin. Father in heaven, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, to worship, to study, to fellowship, and we ask for your Holy Spirit to rest with us, not only us, but around the world, for your world church body, that we may do what you have called us to do and put away the things that hinder us, that we might be fit temples and souls, ready for thy kingdom, for thy glory and honor. In Jesus' name and blood we pray. Amen. We have a couple of significant areas that we as mankind and womankind struggle with, and I'll be dealing with some of the issues. I think we have one other session, and we'll be dealing with some idolatry issues for women in fashion. But here, we're going to focus mainly for the men. Not that these don't cross over for both genders, but we are going to be especially focusing on the satanic influence, because a lot of people tend to think that sports is simply a game. So when you look at the Bible and you read, especially Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3, you have a very simple story. When you get to chapter 4, God expands on it a little bit, but it's very, very simple. There's only two types of people in the world. When you get to Revelation, you have two groups under two churches. You have Babylon, and you have the people who receive the seal of God. And so when you look at what happens in the interim, and how do we get the seal of God, how would someone end up receiving the mark of the beast, then that's going to depend on what they do in their life and how they live their life. What are these? Just muffins? Are these just dough and frosting? Is this just boiled beans and water? Boy, do I need a fly swatter. Excuse me. Are these just sugar, chocolate, caramel, nuts, and fillings? Is that it? If this didn't have a spirit with it, would you be tempted? Is it just bread and meat, bacon, fried potatoes, ketchup, cheese? Is that all? Since these are spirits, shouldn't we be concerned about something else besides the liquid? Because the liquid is just actually alcohol, sure. Alcohol is alcohol, sure. You could get inebriated with no demon, right? But there's a bigger issue than simply the liquid. Apparently Eve didn't just eat a piece of fruit. Are you all following me? Did God create something that was poisonous, toxic, and or harmful to Eve?
No.
So then, when she ate the tree, what was wrong with the tree?
God has said.
God did what?
God has said, do not eat it.
So it was based on a simple prohibition, not based on the actual act. the fruit itself being bad. Now, that is no longer the case, because cyanide and arsenic are what they are. Bleach is what it is, alcohol is what it is, and we are mortals. Okay? So there's some significant factors. As soon as Eve disobeyed, she became a powerful medium through which to occasion the fall of her husband. Signs of the Times, January 16, 1879. You all understand what a medium is? Anybody not know what a medium is? A medium, a vessel to be used by something else. In this specific example, a spirit, and specifically satanic. Now, there can be Holy Spirit mediums. We don't normally say that. There can be people possessed with the Holy Spirit. We say filled with the Holy Spirit. But there can be people filled with legions of demons. We kind of know that, but we say possession of demons or filled with the Holy Spirit. Going down more to the bottom here so I can get through this. We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. The serpent answers, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be what? Ye shall be as gods. So, when Eve took of this fruit, she sets a precedent. There's a rule in the Bible by Lewis F. Ware, who wrote The Certainty of the Three Angels' Message. I would recommend you to read that book. But the rule of first mention. In this first sin, when we sin, we are displacing God and putting ourselves in the position of God, and we're actually saying that we want to be God. That goes with every sin. It just becomes magnified in certain areas. You all have heard of Olympia, right? Olympia is a plain in Greece, in the western Peloponnese. In ancient Greece, it was the site of the chief sanctuary of the god Zeus, the place where the original Olympic Games were held. Olympian, what's an Olympian? Basically, and these are simply definitions. When I study the Bible, I don't study Greek and Hebrew. I'm not a theologian in that sense. Haven't been to seminary. This is a Oxford dictionary, the one that's inside this computer. I think it's an Oxford dictionary. And so you guys can look this up yourself with your apples. But when we study the Bible, even though English looks like most people here, it's your first language, look up the English definitions and understand what the words mean. An Olympian is a person who is a god in the eyes of the people of Greece. That person is a god when you're an Olympian. An Olympian, when I was a kid, and I was born in 1964, I remember my first Olympics were the Munich Olympics. Mark Spitz won 7 gold medals, and I sat there enamored, and I was like swimming every day when I was a kid, Los Angeles High School, and went to tennis lessons every day during the summer. And so I was projecting myself to be a professional athlete and or Olympian or something along those lines. But I grew up on this stuff, and we as Christians, we're not taught this. And I didn't learn a lot of what I'm telling you until about 20 years ago, after God called me out of sports. But these are very, very significant things because Zeus, as you can see here, Zeus, king of the gods and ruler of Mount Olympus, god of the sky, lightning, thunder, law, order, justice, etc. There's a lot of things that we have in here. Here's the Roman Colosseum. And this is a cut of a graphic. Yeah, I guess I can say it's a cutaway showing the internals of the Roman Colosseum. The thing I found interesting, you'll see there at the top, construction was funded by the opulent spoils taken from where? Can you guys read that? Can you see way up there? From the Jewish temple. The Jewish temple that was destroyed in AD 70. This Colosseum is, what can we say? It is a representation of what is happening in modern time now. Photo of it. Anybody here from Los Angeles, California? Any of you have heard of the Los Angeles Coliseum? Has anybody heard of that? Did you know that the football stadium in Los Angeles is called the Coliseum? No, you guys didn't know that. You know who they are? UCLA in blue, University of California, Los Angeles, and USC, University of Southern California. Yes, they play football there. And yes, they have stones from the Roman Colosseum. And if you could take an X-ray photo behind that, see the red is where the seats are, you would see my church, the University Seventh-day Adventist Church, where I'm a member in Los Angeles, California. We are 1 block from the Coliseum. Every Sabbath, I see this building. Every Sabbath, I see this building when I go to church there. And it occurred to me, what I'm going to show you here, tell you some of my conclusion, that while I'm in church, and our church seats about 800, and so we can stuff it sometimes up to 1,000 or so. But when we have our 100 or 200 that might come now, that it's emptied out, there are people having worship over here in the Coliseum with 80 to 90, sometimes it was 100,000, 102, 101,000 people. There's Zeus. This is a depiction by an artist. And in his hand there is a little god. But in the middle there it says, in its right hand was a small chrysophalline statue of crowned Nike, goddess of victory. Its left hand had a sepulchre inlaid with many metals supporting an eagle. Okay, so this is Zeus's throne. Pagan worship. Pagan worship is made up of always these elements. Worship of the sun, worship of the moon, worship of the star, worship of women, worship of children, principal animal, fertility of the soil, which is for food, productivity, agriculture, fertility of men, which is sex, and then sports, which is conquest and domination. Did you see the little man down there? Are you all following the picture? I'm a photographer, and you get the real story when you look around from the side. Okay? So there's a worshiper. So what's worship? What is worship? The feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity, the worship of God, the acts or rites that make up a formal expression of reverence for a deity. The third one down, adoration or devotion. The fourth one down, honor given to someone in recognition of their merit. Does this expand your understanding of worship a little more? Buddhism, just giving you what they have a definition here. Worship in Buddhism may take innumerable forms, given the doctrine of skillful means. So you can have many, many forms of Buddhism, and so I want you to understand there are many, many forms of worship. And there's a definition of veneration. Reverence. What's reverence? Reverence, we have a deep respect for someone or something. Rituals showed honor and reverence for the dead. A gesture indicative of respect, a bow or curtsy, etc. The question is, do we have reverence in our churches today? We need to teach reverence more in our churches today. I guess you guys, can you hear that through the system here now? Can you hear? One more try.
The fact they do have that policy in terms of their player selection makes it all the more remarkable. And along with Barcelona and Real Madrid, Athletic Bilbao have never been relegated, never been Primera Division. Something to be admired, I have to say. Well, it's real and rolling. Still goal. Look at this, Gavin. It's a brilliant run from Messi. Can he go all the way? It's one of the great Copa del Rey final goals.
Notice the crowd here. Can you see what their hands are? I'm sorry, notice the crowd here. Going in slow-mo so you can see this. Look at the hands right in front of the guy's face. Look at the hands there. Worship. That was pretty overt, wasn't it? Some of you have probably been to Peru, right? I've been many times. This is one of the nice, very world famous, the Aztecs, Incas. The Incas are in Peru, and these societies, when you study the Word of God and you understand what was happening in these pagan societies. I went into pyramid of the Mochi. It mentions the Mochi up there at the top. They had a pyramid just like, I've been going to Peru for years, and in 1 year we were in Trujillo, and we saw this. I went inside, and this thing was built just like, well, not exactly, but similar to the pyramids in Egypt. I've never been to Egypt. And the fascinating thing about what was happening with the Mochi And of course, the Incas were doing the same thing. They were sacrificing, doing human sacrifices when it would rain. They would go into war, they would capture, and then when it rained, they would sacrifice. I'm from Los Angeles, and you guys know how LA is, right? Compared to Washington. We get 12 inches of rain to 14, that's our average. You know, we go into drought and we get 6 to 8 inches of rain a year. Phoenix gets 6 average regularly. Lima, Peru gets 2 inches of rain. I'm telling you what I'm telling you because when I went to Peru first time, 2000, as a missionary, I was early in my missionary years. I'd always want to see green, 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 paradise, and sand, sand, sand. It was just desert. And it lets me know that God, He has cursed this earth. And we know what happened to Egypt. Egypt is a virtual desert now. But was it like that before Moses' time? It was green, 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 green. And God is giving us messages. You look at Los Angeles, you look at Lima, look at Las Vegas, Phoenix, all these areas. It's a message from God. And this human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, I kind of have my videos in the wrong order, I'm sorry, but this is a worship service. Shh. Did you see that? Silence. We're golfing. Should we not have more respect and worship in church? But when you do this worship, they're reverent. Acts chapter 7, 40 to 42, saying unto Aaron, make us gods, go before us. For as this Moses, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days and offered a sacrifice unto the idol and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. The Bible actually defines idolatry, idols, the work of our own hands. That's one of the biblical definitions of idolatry. Now here, going back into the heart of the story, and they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play sports. Okay? Sports have always been a part of pagan worship. And the Lord said unto Moses, go, get thee down for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. A god is the thing that you venerate or reverence because it delivers you from, and you fill in the blank. I want you to be clear. Gods can be a can of beer, or a donut, or a hamburger. Comfort food. I'm talking about sports, and some sports in specific. But I want you guys to really understand this idea, when you understand it, it goes throughout every element of society. So it can be work, or it can be education, it can be fashion. We're talking about sports mainly. When you get down to the end of the story in Revelation chapter 13, you have people who will worship the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, the world, or they will worship God. Verse 9, and the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. And Moses besought the Lord his God, and said, Lord, why doth thy wrath wax hot against thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Wherefore should the Egyptians speak, and say, for mischief did he bring them out to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against thy people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou swearest by thine own self, and saidest unto them, I will multiply your seeds as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. Now we cannot expect to go back into the world and receive the favor of God. And Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted. He said unto Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the voice of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. And Moses' anger waxed hot, and cast the tables out of his hand, and brake them beneath the mount. The calf, the dancing. Still there? And the last part of this, and Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people unto thee, that thou brought so great a sin upon them? For they said unto me, make us gods which shall go up before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies. Now, understand Bible language. Did Aaron go around and take their clothes off of them? Did God put his finger on Job? Is he the one who killed his camels and sheep and oxen? Are you understanding what the Bible's? There's only really, three reasons to get naked. Change clothes, take a shower, sunbathe, and one other. And this has always been part of worship, the pagan worship. You have the sun, the moon, as I mentioned, star, child, woman, fertility of man, fertility of soil, an animal, a principal animal is worship, and then sports. I saw this as I was just flying up here. This is, yesterday? No, this is I think it was yesterday. I got it this week, 48 hours at the most. But this is an Adventist And they're from Washington. I don't know where this is, but you guys might know these people. And my eyes just kind of popped out when I saw this. At the bottom, in red, you can look that up or see me later if you want to read at least what I have. The girl says, I'll never get the chance to play for the state championship again. But hopefully this case will protect other Seventh-day Adventists like my brother from having to choose between sports and their faith. So we can choose sports over faith? Is that okay? Can we have the favor of God? Christ Object Lessons, page 54, paragraph 1. Many parents seek to promote the happiness of their children by gratifying their love of amusement. They allow them to engage in sports and to attend parties of pleasure and provide them with money to use freely in display and self-gratification. The more the desire for pleasure is indulged, the stronger it becomes. The interest of these youth is more and more absorbed in amusement until they come to look upon it as the great object of life. They form habits of idleness and self-indulgence that make it almost impossible ever to become steadfast Christians. Is that very, very bad? Very, very bad. Human sacrifice. Now there's a little bit of language here, even though this is not so bad in a certain sense. I didn't think it was so appropriate here. But notice this scene here. Listen to the announcer.
Sweet Savage is moving inside that thing. Fire there. Now Sweet is wearing one of these new suits where the bulb automatically goes off inside the suit. Whoever is wearing it, he is wearing it. If there's any hope, it might be that.
How is he moving from this reality? I've never seen a car just disintegrate like that. Remember we made a pit stop just a little bit ago. The car's hold 75 gallons of fuel, and he hasn't burned much of that oil.
Somebody's been hit in the face. A fire truck racing to the sea and has hit a mechanic or somebody. The pit was went the wrong way through the pit. Deciding a Savage out of the corner. The man was thrown in the air. Hit by a fire truck.
Did you hear that? There was a man in the pit, right over here on your right side. Sorry for the quality of the video. That's the 1973 Indianapolis 500. I watched my first Indianapolis 500 in 1974, and at that point, that was the seed that led in my life to me wanting to race Indianapolis. But anyway, in this particular race in 73, there was a lot of issues that happened. There were at least 3 individuals who were killed. In this short little video, just 2. Just that quickly, the man in the pit was running out to help with this accident scene and the truck hit him. That's actually on video also. And the truck hit him, there's a dent right in one of those old Chevy 72 trucks. And it threw him up in the air and he landed and he was dead right in an instant. Human sacrifice. People look at it when we study history books, and we're like, oh, those pagans, and they're so evil, and they're so awful, and man, they're not civilized. But here we're just like so polished, and the way that the devil does it and skins them now, we don't even think about it. We don't even think about it. And this was became my sport of primary love. I mean, I played all the stick and ball, baseball and football and basketball and golf and swam and tennis and all that stuff. But I was looking to go into racing professionally, and I've heard it out of the mouths of the drivers, the professional drivers themselves. This is a cruel sport, and you kind of don't realize the significance sometimes, obviously. And I remember being at Riverside International Raceway, and it was 1987, very last IMSA, that's International Motorsports Sports Car Association, and there was a 4-car crash, $1 million in cars, just that quick. One of them went up in smoke. One of the guys was paralyzed. But while I was in the pits, the thing that was interesting was in the hot pit, and Michael Chandler's mom, who I believe Michael Chandler was driving one of the cars nearby. The Chandler family owns the Los Angeles Times, and they did. But the mom is like sitting in the pits behind me, and the families, people like start going crazy. And that was my first experience in the hot pit. I'm just kind of like turning around, and it occurs to you, wait a minute, there's like actual human beings driving the cars who, if there's a cut and a scratch, they draw blood, and people will miss them if they die. And when you look inside one of those cars for the first time, as I did as a youth, and you're like, wait a minute, well, how do they survive? How did they make it through that impact anyway? How do so many guys walk away? When you look at the cars, you can't. There is not a logical reason why some people walk away, except that you factor in the supernatural. Except that you factor that in. I saw that Satan bade his angels, laid their snares, especially for those who were looking for Christ's second appearing and keeping all the commandments of God. Satan told his angels that the churches were asleep. He would increase his power in lying and wonders, and he could hold them. But he said, the sect of Sabbath keepers we hate. They're continually working against us and taking our subjects to keep the hated law of God. I think that's supposed to say them, possessors of lands and money drunk with cares. If you can make them place their affections upon these things, we shall have them. Now my time is running, and I want you to see that word attraction. Crowd every attraction around them, and they will be surely ours. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered and sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other God but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be ye idolators, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play sports. Now that word play also refers to sex also, so you're clear. Neither let them commit fornication, as some of them committed and fell in one day, 320,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee idolatry. So who's this guy? Who are they? Because there are two different ones there. You guys recognize them, right? Yes? No? Those are popes, different popes. Now, why are they kissing the earth? And does it mean anything? If you kiss the world, you know how in the Bible, the Bible's like every little thing has significance. Do these men love the world? Do these men worship the world? Do the people who are underneath them, their subjects, are they worshipers of the world? Just a kiss? Is that just a kiss? Now we're back into sports. It's the Olympics. Just a kiss? That's just a kiss? Clearly not. Listen closely.
And they're off. 30 minutes over 100 miles an hour on the curve. Great, great.
Have you been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway when it's dark and still? Sometimes you hear something. A whisper from the shadows, echoing softly through the cool air, trailing away down the straightaway and into the turn. In that sound is the history of the place. Every driver who ever competed, every car that ever ran, every person who ever thrilled to the challenge of man and machine against the gods of speed. This is no mere racetrack. This is a temple. This is the gods of speed.
The gods of speed and a temple, listen.
Against the gods of speed. This is no mere racetrack.
The gods of
This
speed.
is a temple.
This is no
This is the
mere
most
racetrack.
ground in motorsports.
It's a temple.
This is Indy.
The most hallowed ground.
And as said
In
by
motorsports.
Jimmy George, its spirit touches all who enter.
And when you enter, a spirit touches you. Holy Spirit? So can I go into the LA Coliseum? What's this guy? He had just won his 4th Formula One World Championship. Dario Franchitti, his actress wife, Ashley Judd, winner of the Indy 500. This is now a regular part of the ceremony. This stuff is pretty serious and it's very scary to me because you kind of think that, yeah, if I'm just like maybe one of the crew, then, but it's the worship now is getting blatant. Train up a child. How? This driver is trying to coax his little daughter to kiss the brick. She doesn't want to kiss the brick. Idolatry. That's the Indy 500 trophy that I was trying to get my face on if you win. And as I mentioned earlier, blood, sacrifice, death.
My name is Nick Bonaconte. I'm in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was a member of the 1972 undefeated Dolphins. Someone said I took 500,000 hits to my head. I can't remember how to tie a tie. I can't remember how to lace my shoes. My left arm won't do what my brain tells it to do. The answer would be no. I would not have played football.
No, I would not have played football. That man is on the greatest, shall we say, NFL team ever. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. And I'm saying that because I know there's controversy about that. And they were undefeated. And he was popping a champagne cork every time another NFL team would lose. There are spirits involved in order for them to keep this record. He paid a serious price. And I'm not going to play the entire video, but in 1985, his son Mark Bonaconte, playing football, he took an impact and his spine was severed and he's paralyzed now. And so he never made it to the NFL. Nick Bonaconte paid a huge price. There's a price. The devil says, remember Matthew chapter 4, bow down and worship. And he says to whomsoever he wants, he gives it, who he wills. Most offensive to God, teach your children that nothing is to be withheld from God, that all their gifts are to be used to promote His glory. Teach them to cherish a sense of their accountability, to use wisely their entrusted capabilities, improving and perfecting them by use. They are accountable for the judicious exercise of every faculty. God cannot excuse those who have been bought by the blood of His Son from working faithfully in His service. Every true Christian is a co-worker with Christ. Nothing can be more offensive to God than to cripple or abuse the gifts lent us to be devoted to His service. The value of a soul is estimated by the price paid for it. How much? Okay. How much does a soul cost? I can give you an exact figure to the penny. How much does a soul cost? I can tell you to the penny. How much does your soul cost? How much does my soul cost? How much does someone else's soul cost? In algebra, you know how we do equations? On the other side, you have a value. On the other side, you have an equation. The cost of a human soul is the cost of a God, the Creator, Jehovah Elohim Adonai. That's the value of a human soul, the cost of God Himself. How valuable are you? If you're as valuable as God. Because the Father said, implied language. Jesus is in Gethsemane. Father, take this cup. Jesus was drinking that cup in Gethsemane, and He's like, Father, take the cup. I don't want to drink it. It's too bitter. in my mind, the implied statement back to the Son. We made an agreement, a covenant. Do not come back, except that you die for them and make a way for them to be saved. But otherwise, do not come back. You're saying 1 minute or 15 minutes? Oh, 6 minutes. They just told me 5.
Three minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. So we understand the cost of the soul, the value of your soul. And when we look at this, you know, God wants to do amazing things for us. And if I should finish with this statement. Testimonies of Ministers, page 85. Satan has been multiplying his snares and battle creep, and professed Christians who are superficial in character and religious experience are used by the tempter as his decoys. The class are always ready for gatherings for pleasure or sport, and their influence attracts others. Young men and young women who have tried to be Bible Christians and are persuaded to join the party. They are drawn into the ring. They do not prayerfully consult the divine standard to learn what Christ had said in regard to the fruit to be born on the Christian tree. They do not discern that these entertainments are really Satan's banquet. It's a banquet for the devil to destroy souls, prepared to keep souls from accepting the call to the marriage supper of the Lamb. They prevent them from receiving the white robe of character, which is the righteousness of Christ. They become confused as to what is right for them as Christians to do. They do not want to be thought singular and naturally inclined to follow the example of others. Thus, they come under the influence of those who have never had the divine touch on heart or mind. My ministry focuses on medical missionary work, Bible study. I have an effective Bible study and spiritual growth plan. I have audio presentations, and for those of you who are thinking now about, especially Jesus and his price that he paid, I do have a series. I have several series on the life of Christ. I recommend you to take a look or listen and study for yourself the desired ages. Use the effective Bible study method. Look up every Bible verse. Read 5 verses before and 5 verses after, and understand that price. Yes, we miss out on some things in the world, but there's an eternity where we will not miss anything that is here. Absolutely nothing. So let's put our minds in the right location, our eyes on the right thing, and that way we can keep our focus. But I'm going to say a word of prayer, and we'll close. Father in heaven, we thank you that you sent your Son and you gave him to us that we might be redeemed. Let it be that his death will not have been in vain for us, that many souls will be brought into thy kingdom. Continue to rest with us and be with us in the form of thy Holy Spirit. This is our prayer in Jesus' name and blood. Amen.